yourself, Brian. Go ahead.
Thank you. I decided to run in 2007 to run for City Council because I kept reading in the paper the city was going broke. And I didn't want my city to go broke, so I decided to run for City Council, and I was familiar with the budget process coming from the police department, where I was in charge of the police budget for 3 years. And so I decided that I would run because of that. And I was told, it was the dire straits, we'd be broke by 2010, 2012. Well, we're still not broke. We didn't raise water rates in 2 years that I was mayor. As I promised Mrs. Enright, I remember the day that I promised you that when I was right here at one of the council meetings that I wouldn't vote to raise water rates. And I still won't vote to raise water rates as long as we're wasting money out of the general fund. When we stop wasting money and paying for festivals and that, then I can understand raising water rates that the cost of living or whatever. The reason I'm running this time, four reasons. Tim Keller, Ken Harris, David Costello, or Richard Bertine. I feel like sometimes on the council that I'm General Custer. These four came up and said, the cavalry's on the way, just hang in there, and we're coming to rescue you. So that's why I'm running this time. What are your ideas for bringing Port Huron back to fiscal stability and health? I personally feel I am the fiscal responsible person on the council because I didn't vote to support many things that the council's, in my opinion, spent money on foolishly. Every debate I bring this one up, and I'll bring it up again today. We spent $100,000 to do a study on whether we need a fish tank here. We spent $150,000 to buy the law firm office behind the old YMCA, which was SEV value of that was $67.5. So if you double that in a good economy, that's still less than $150. When I asked the question why we were paying more than what it was worth, it's a good piece of property. So we spent $150,000 to buy that for the fish tank. We voted to buy the YMCA for $200,000 to put the fish tank there. We spent $220,000 to tear the Y down so we can put the fish tank there. And then we spent $113,000 last year on a Blue Water Festival. That was a flop, and we lost $113,000. We also gave 80% of the city employees who live outside the city limits. We decided to give them a 2% pay raise along with an 3.28, 3.3 pay raise and fringe benefit increase for them for that year, while the rest of us were not getting pay raises. Jobs, obviously, I don't know the best way to create jobs, but my father-in-law was a small businessman in the community, made millions, and he said he did as little work as possible in the city of Port Huron because we have so many regulations that it's impossible to do any work here in Port Huron. As far as the budget process goes, I'm a person that thinks outside the box. I like to bring in new ideas. For 4 years, I've been trying to get us to go to furlough days, and for 4 years, we haven't went to furlough days. Actually, 3 years, because I didn't go to the budget process the last time because I knew they were going to increase the water rate 6.4%. So I didn't go because I wasn't going to support it. So I saved the taxpayers $50 by not going to the meeting, and I voted no on the budget. Support local businesses. I'm a very strong believer in supporting local businesses. At one of these forums, the Chamber of Commerce asked us, what are you going to do for the local businesses? I said, I'm going to get rid of the parking meters. They're a loss to the city, and they're a problem for the city, and we did that, and it's working fine. Another thing I would do for the local businesses right now, most small businesses that I talk to, as Tim has mentioned, the DDA, in my opinion, is a waste of taxpayers' money. Only the local businesses and the people that in that area pay that tax. Let them pay it and get together themselves, create their own image, and get the government out of there, and let them decide what they want to fund and not fund with their money. If they want to keep it, fine. What are the biggest mistakes that we've made in 10 years? We've made a lot of mistakes. Okay, I've made mistakes. I'm not going to say here that I haven't. But probably one of the biggest mistakes, and actually Mr. Castillo was the one that brought it to my attention again the other day. I finally got off this horse, but he brought it up at the council meeting the other night. Our population was down by about, I think he said 1,100 people in the last census. If you know anything about federal revenue sharing, we get federal money by how many people live in the city. Do you know if the jail was still in St. Clair, in Port Huron, that those people were counted as residents of Port Huron when the census was taken? And so we lost probably 1,000 people or 800 people, whatever that jail holds out there. Port Huron Township is now getting that revenue sharing for it, and we're not getting it. We're also lost all those corrections officers' income tax that they don't live in the city, but they would have had to pay city income tax. So that's one that comes to my mind as a major issue. Thanks, Dave, for bringing it back to bringing up those sour grapes there for me. How would you make city leaders more accountable? I think Tim touched on it with the charter and the mayor form of government. We have very limited power as far as talking to city employees and what they do and what they don't do. We have nothing to do with their appointment, hiring or firing. Open books. When I was in the first council and was mayor, I was told by the city council that we could not put the city budget online. So I went to a private local business here and we put the city budget online, line item budget. The one that you get from the city is a little booklet that you couldn't understand if you were a CPA. Line item budget we put on there. Approximately 3 or 4 months later, the city finally put it in there. I'm not the mayor, it's not on there anymore. Go back to what Mr. Castillo said earlier, and Councilmember Archibald actually said too. Sometimes it seems we make decisions too fast. I'm an automatic no vote when they come here and tell me, if we don't do this tonight, the world's coming to an end tomorrow morning. I've heard that so many times from the city manager and from the city administration that the world is past already. I'm an automatic no vote as soon as they say that because they didn't do their job. If they knew the deadline was tonight, they should have had that report to the city council a month ago. There's no reason for them to come in here in the city council meeting and say, if we don't pass this tonight, we're not going to get it. Well, you're not getting that vote. Again, the support of local businesses, I just want to go back a minute for fiscal stability. That the Blue Water Festival that we paid for to do, we didn't support our local businesses. I'm not a drinker, but Mr. Roach and the brewery both told me, we put a beer tent right outside their bars this year, right up to the curb. It was the first year that they didn't make a profit on pre-race night. So that's supporting your local businesses. I believe in buying locally. We bought cars from Owasso because Ford was $200 more. Now I know if they were $10,000 more, I would have bought them from Northgate Ford too. But for $200, when Northgate Ford pays city income tax, corporate tax, hires people that pay city income taxes, pays water and sewer rates, I think maybe we can overlook $200 for a car to keep those jobs in Port Huron. As far as income tax, I think if we got the council together, and I'd be glad to sit on the committee, we need to talk to the city income tax is basically controlled by state legislature. There's only certain things we can do. My feeling with the city income tax is the wrong people are paying the 1%. You, the residents of Port Huron, pay property taxes if you live here, and you're paying 1%. And then we have people who come in from out of town to take our jobs, like our police officers and city employees, 80% live outside the city, and they only pay 0.5%. Those people should pay 1%. They're using our resources 8 to 16 hours a day that they're in this community, and they're getting a cut rate. You're paying property taxes and 1% income tax. You should be paying 0.5 tax, and they should be paying 1. And that would affect me because I work in Detroit. And so my income tax, I pay 1 1/4 there now, it jumped to 2.5%, but I'm willing to do that because I feel in reality I am taking the person's job from Detroit by working in their city. So I just believe that's one way of changing the income tax. Tax abatements, we give tax abatements to businesses. There should be a penalty if a company comes in here and gets a tax abatement and they don't stay here for 3 or 4 years. I voted one of my first tax abatements in a long time the other day for a company that's been here 80 years. They've been here for 80 years. I'll give you a tax break. It's small or large, that hires residents of the city of Port Huron. They would get some type of tax break for hiring residents of Port Huron instead of hiring people from outside the city to work here. That may cause more people to move into the city so that they can get a job. So, lastly, facing the fiscal crisis, economic crisis, what would be your aspirations and goals? Four candidates that I told you about there that said that they were the cavalry, elect them so they could save Custer and we could make some changes. Thank you.